more like this in Nigeria. That's the missing piece. And I will also stand on existing protocols. Now, let me say that with respect to the qualities that may have contributed towards my position in the central bank, there are a number of things. Actually, there's one particular thing that is very dear to me, and that is, as a policy maker, I am very, very committed to one thing, and that is that if at the end of the day we cannot make policies, and we do not make policies that impact the man on the street, then what is the point of doing them? And I think that is so critical, and I definitely have taken that to the job I have been doing in the past 7 or 8 months. That whatever it is we do must ultimately impact the man on the street, the average person. And frankly, as economists, as bankers, as finance people, it is very easy to be in a bubble and really not appreciate that ultimately this is how you will make a difference to the environment you live in. I find that it is very important to listen. And I must say that a good number of the policy statements that came out of the central bank over the recent past, many of them came out as a result of listening to what problems people had, issues people raised, and how, again, certain things were negatively impacting on people. And we responded accordingly with those. So these are things that are carefully thought out, carefully crafted in response to dysfunctions that we find within the economy. Both things that we know and things that we hear other people have a problem with. Of course, collaboration is also key. And in the spirit of this, we find it is so important that we recognize, as the central bank, we must collaborate with others. We cannot do it on our own. Chief collaborator in this respect is the fiscal side. In particular, the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and the rest. Okay? Without that, you're only, as they say sometimes, clapping with one hand. So collaboration is very, very important in getting the job done. Then, of course, transparency. And I know that I am talking to a very sophisticated audience here, so frankly, there's not much more to add there, other than to say that one of the new tools that I thought was very important when I got into the seat was to open up discussions to the press, which we do after MPC, and people could also dial in. We do this, so far we've had 3 MPC meetings, and it's been open for people who feel they want to question and contribute towards the decisions that are taken. And of course, we defend ourselves accordingly. So communication, transparency is very, very, very key. And it will only continue. It's an element that we feel we will continue to do whatever is necessary to improve on it. Communication, of course, another very important issue, as far as I can see. And there are times where nobody needs to tell you that you need to get out there and talk to people. Nobody needs to tell you. You will know. You will feel it. And if some of you may recall, and Frank, if you may recall, earlier on, a couple of months after I became central bank governor, we actually approached the media, and I had a lengthy parley at the time. I think it was Arise News at the time, which helped to douse the feelings of uncertainty and also give an idea of the way forward. Nobody needs to tell you that as a leader, you cannot shy away from communicating. Nobody needs to tell you this, okay? It is so fundamental. And there are different forms of it. Even, okay, an avenue like this, an opportunity like this. We're here now, we're communicating. There are critical issues that people may not have adequately understood, and where we have the opportunity to clarify, we will do so. And that, again, is something that we will do we've been doing on a continuous basis. Print media, television, whatever means, we cannot shy away from communicating. There's no such thing as over-communicating. So I just want to make that particular aspect very important. In the days gone by, central bank governors typically are seen as a group that should say very little. But I believe those days have changed, okay? At the same time, you've got to find a balance, and you've got to be very clear in the way you communicate so that people don't misinterpret what you say.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. So we've heard about, you didn't tell us why the president called you headmaster, but that's okay. We've heard about partnership with...
Frank, is an excellent question. And I would even go further to say that before I got into the seat, into the saddle, when I was going through the Senate hearing, I actually made that statement, even before I was confirmed, that my first priority would be to settle that backlog. And I was very clear on that. And you're absolutely right. A good number of people came to me at the time and said, look, this doesn't make sense. Why would you prioritize so much money to pay back people and, you know, businesses and all that, when you can use that for actually growing and opening up the foreign exchange market? I got a lot of pressure on that. But I think what perhaps many failed to realize is that here we are in a situation where Nigeria was in a state of crisis. Nigeria was in a state where there was a lot of loss of confidence. And to be honest with you, even without that, it is so important that you hold high your integrity. As a bank, your yes must be yes. That is a big, major step in building credibility. It's a big, major step in building credibility. Very tempting, I must tell you, very tempting to push that aside and say, oh, let's leave that for another time. Very tempting, very tempting. But ultimately, I was convinced that if we did not do that at that time, we would pay the price for it as a country.
Thank you, Mr. Governor. In a recent interview, you were very clear